What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I have a very exciting video for you today. Sitting next to me here, I have the brand new 2024 Chevy Equinox EV. So I've been wanting to check out the Equinox EV ever since it was announced. It was actually second on my list when I was considering a new EV. Obviously the timing didn't really work out as we're just now getting them delivered here in May, and I needed one back in February, so I ended up getting the Tesla Model 3. But I think if the timing would have worked out, this would have been a serious contender. So let's go ahead and just walk around the whole vehicle, take a look at all the features that you get here on the 2RS all-wheel drive, then we'll take it for a little test drive. All right, so starting here on the front of the Equinox EV, you can tell that it pulls inspiration from basically all of Chevy's electric vehicles and I guess some of their ICE vehicles too. So you've got the really slim, low profile LED daytime running lights, and that's pulled from not only things like the Blazer, but also obviously the newer Bolt had that as well. And then you've got an LED light bar that runs across the front there next to the Chevy bow tie. And it's all really small proportionally, right? This is a really thin little bar. This is a tiny little Chevy bow tie, nice and squatty. These also work as your turn signal indicators. And then you have your actual high beams and regular beams down here in this little segmented off section. So again, very similar to what we had on the Bolt EUV, where the daytime running lights and the headlights were actually separated. So you got little carbon fiber accents here on the front grille, some nice little slats for some air intake there. Front-facing camera to work with your HD surround vision, more slats here, ultrasonic sensors dotted around, and then your RS badging here. Obviously this little faux grille textured piece is pulled straight off the Bolt from back in the day, but also the Blazer has something similar to this. But overall, some really sporty kind of stylings in the front. Very aggressive. The ground effects have some nice points to them. Very sharp and angular. Very sporty, and it looks really good. Some little air pass through here as well. So I was assuming that under the hood it was going to be similar to the Blazer with one big plastic piece, but it's actually open. We still don't have a frunk, but you get to see all of your electrical components here. So you've got a motor here, you've got your different fluids all around. So no frunk, unfortunately, still, but you do have easy access if stuff needs to be worked on. So if we move on over here to the wheels, you'll probably notice these are massive wheels, right? These are 21-inch gloss black wheels here. They're a 5-spoke design. I think they look absolutely incredible here. You can get standard 19-inch wheels, but then these 21s are optioned on to some of the higher trim levels. So this being a 2RS, it does have them optioned on. Some more parking sensors over here. Then you have your Equinox EV badging with your little blue EV lines here. Now, as far as the side mirrors go, these are manual folding side mirrors, but they do have your cameras built in underneath for your HD surround vision. They're heated. They have blind spot monitoring built into them as well. Up top, you've got some roof rails here. No sunroof on this model here, but I'm sure you can get one optioned on. Now, with the door handles on the side of the Equinox here, they remind me a lot of the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 door handles, where they will auto present to you when you get close enough, and they will close back up on their own if you walk away, but you can also put your finger on this little pad and they'll lock right up for you. But they also have this little feature where you can kind of push them in like that, and then they'll unlock and pop open, which I find really cool. But you can open them up like that, lock them like that. Really neat, nice aerodynamic look to them too. But I mean, they're almost identical to what you get on the Hyundai Ioniq 6. I've made a video on that. If you want to see it, I'll have it linked in the card above. Now, inside here is obviously your charge port. And this has regular J1772 plug. Really wish they would have done NACS, but not yet. And then you get a DC fast charging port there. Now the Equinox EV here is capable of 150 kilowatts DC fast charging. It does also have an onboard AC charger that's capable of 11.5 kilowatts, which is exactly the same as we had on the Bolt models. And GM estimates you can get 77 miles in about 10 minutes of fast charging. So interesting, we may have to test that out. But coming around here to the back of the Equinox here, I think it's a really attractive look. It's kind of different. It reminds me a little bit of the Trailblazer a little bit. If you guys have seen the more recent iterations of the Trailblazer, kind of very similar design to this. But you got a little bit of a spoiler up top here, little rear wiper, tinted rear glass, LED taillights here. These are nice sculpted taillight with this unique design here, and it runs across and it kind of segments into these ever decreasing size increments here. Looks really cool. Chevy bow tie here. more Equinox badging, more all-wheel drive badging. Kind of a mirroring effect here from your front grille here in the back with some more ultrasonic sensors. And then your rear view camera here with a little sprayer. And then down below, you get a nice little diffuser as well. Just a kind of carbon fiber look to it. But yeah, I really like the tail lights. I think that's a really cool design. The butt of it is pretty large, like it's wide. You know, it kind of like juts out right here. Got a nice caboose on it, but we can go ahead and use the power lift gate, open her up, get access to this cargo capacity. Now, I know the cargo numbers with the second row seats folded down, it's about 57 cubic feet. So I'm gonna guess this is somewhere in like the 25 range here with the second row seats folded up. I'll have the exact number on screen for you if I can find it. But you do have your dual level charging cable back here. This has your 240 volt plug as well as your 110 that you can swap in and out. You know what you need. License plate bracket back here, camera box. You can lift up the floor here, get some underfloor storage. Got a nice tow hook back there. All the room you need to store your charging cable down here. This is very similar to the Blazer EV that I just took a look at over on my Bachmann Auto Group channel. You can take a look at that over here, but this all looks exactly the same as the Blazer, which makes sense. All right, so then hopping back here to the second row seats here. First thing you're gonna notice is the material here on the door panels. This is not a premium material set back here. This is all hard black plastic. You got a little bit of a cool accent we'll talk about in a sec, some soft touch here, then basically hard black plastic all the way down. This is what you're gonna expect on something that's meant to be kind of a more affordable type of vehicle from Chevy here. This is not, you know, your top end premium type of feel. But this little accent I think is really unique. You kind of have this red or orange kind of gradient piece that works its way across, and we'll see that mirrored a couple other places here in the cabin. You can see it here on the seating surfaces here. It's kind of hard to tell, but there is a subtle gradient here from this kind of red color on the exterior into the darker color. Red and blue accent stitching on the seating surfaces here. And these are Chevy's Tech seating surfaces, so they're a hybrid of a synthetic leather and a cloth with this accent stitching and the perforations down the center. You can fold them down with this little handle here, and then you basically just have plastic all down here. Now hopping here into the back, you've got map pockets on both driver and passenger seat, rear vents as well, 2 USB-C ports for charging here in the back, which is always nice to have. You've got hooks and handles here, some LED dome lights as well. And as far as the rear seat legroom, I mean, you have plenty. I mean, this seat's pretty far back. You've got probably 4 or 5 inches of rear legroom here. Really impressive spacing back here. Some nice headroom with the roof. It kind of slopes up. Passenger room, I'd say 2 adults are going to be comfortable back here for sure. 3 kids could definitely work, but the middle passenger needs to be pretty small because this seat is pretty tight. Like you can even see kind of where your butt would be. It's pretty caved in here and thin, so probably best that a child sits here. You can't fold this down and get an armrest, 2 more cup holders. But again, 2 adults, honestly, are gonna be pretty comfortable back here. I am surprisingly comfortable at 6'1". Look at all that legroom. Absolutely impressive here from the Equinox EV. Now, as far as the materials on the driver's side door, again, they sub out the hard black plastic for a soft touch faux leather material here. Which definitely feels better than the hard plastic, but you have that same kind of gradient accent piece here, more of that soft touch kind of textured material here, and then obviously all down here, like I said, very kind of budget and affordable, just kind of stamped black plastic here. Same on this really dirty door trim here, little handle to open the hood. You do have an 8-way power adjustable driver's seat with 4-way lumbar support here, and then some RS badging on these seating surfaces with some accent stitching, more perforations down the center, and that same kind of gradient red and black accent here with some red piping, which looks fantastic. And these seats are super comfortable, surprisingly, for a vehicle at this price point. Let's talk about that price point for a second. You can see the total vehicle price here at $50,795. That is before the $7,500 tax incentive. So really, this vehicle is going to be priced somewhere around the $43,000 mark. So that is pretty affordable, and this is the all-wheel drive RS trim here. Now, as far as what powers the Equinox EV, you have the same 85 kilowatt hour raw battery pack that you get on the lower trimmed Blazer models. And then paired with that, you have 2 different options. You have a standard front wheel drive system, which is going to give you 213 horsepower, 236 pound-feet of torque. And then you have the more powerful all-wheel drive system, and that's going to give you 288 horsepower, 333 pound-feet of torque. The front-wheel drive model is going to give you about 319 miles of EPA estimated range, while that all-wheel drive model is going to give you up to 285 miles of range on a full charge. Go ahead and hop inside the cabin, and you can see we have some more of those kind of Blazer EV inspired vents. So you've got these little accent pieces on the inside, and then you can pivot them around in their housing to get the vents positioned exactly where you want. So really like the design of that. Now the materials across the dash here are more soft touch material here, then a little bit of some more of that satin accent. So now we can take a look at these screens. Now this is the exact same setup that you have on the Blazer EV. So you've got an 11-inch driver information display here that is customizable. You can switch through different pages here to get, full screen Google Maps if you want that. You can get, your driver assistance features full screen. You can get a nice clean display here. And then you can get, tons of vehicle information on the sides if you want all that. And then over here on this side, you have a 17.7-inch infotainment system. This is powered by Google. It's Chevy's most up-to-date system. You've got all kinds of vehicle information in here, all kinds of functionality. You've got everything from vehicle status, drive modes, Google Assistant, Google Play Store. Obviously, those are built in. You've got Google News, Google Podcasts, Google Maps obviously is going to be built in. And then you can see things like your charging here. You can see your camera menu with your full 360-degree camera system that you can switch between all the different views of. Now, I've complained about this in my Blazer EV videos, but really wish they'd give this camera to you full screen. It only takes up a tiny little portion of the screen, and you have this massive menu over here that just doesn't need to be that large, but yeah, it's unfortunate. But you've got ambient lighting here in the Blazer EV, so you can click through all this different ambient lighting. Now that I've got this thing in the dark, you can actually see where this interior ambient lighting lights up, and it's actually way cooler than I thought. I was thinking there would be some little ambient strips down here, but instead you get these. So this is above the glove box on the textured plastic part, and you cannot see even a hint of this in the daytime. And then also over on the door panels over here. So you get this really cool textured bit that lights up. And like I said, you can choose any of these colors on here. Absolutely killer. This implementation is even better than I thought it was going to be. So you got different drive modes. So you got normal, sport, ice, snow, and then my mode, which is a fully customizable mode. And I'm super stoked. I'm going to be checking out this auto park assist feature and comparing it to how my Tesla does auto parking, in case you guys were comparing the Equinox to Tesla in any way. And obviously you can go into your charging menu. You can find charging stations, create a schedule, all that kind of stuff, precondition the battery, which is always super nice to do. You've got on-screen climate control down here that you can kind of, turn up the fan speed and all that. But then you get some physical controls down here as well. So you got a little toggle here for fan speed. You got some physical buttons down there, and then you've got a physical knob for temperature. 2 USB-C charging ports here, a little pocket here for storage, 2 cup holders as well. And then this little center armrest actually flips this way. So you push this button on the side, flips open like that. You got a little tray in here you can remove, and then a nice pocket there for additional storage. I don't see any more ports in there though. So just the 2 USB-C ports. Standard glove box over here. You do have a little area down here for additional storage, and there's a 12-volt outlet down there, so you do have one. Just your standard auto-dimming rearview mirror up here. And if we come back over here to the steering wheel, you've got your cruise control options as well as Super Cruise. Super stoked to check that out. I've only used Super Cruise one time, and it was quite a few years ago, so I'm super stoked to check that out in this video. And I'm gonna be making a separate video where I compare Super Cruise to Tesla's FSD. So if you guys are interested in that video, hit subscribe. It might be out by the time you're watching this. But you've got heated steering wheel here. You've got your controls for your media here as well. Chevy bow tie in the center, some red accent stitching, and then like I said, that Super Cruise light is here. Past that, you do have this little sensor, and that will watch you to make sure you're paying attention when you're using Super Cruise. You got your Regen on-demand paddle on the back, or button in this case. More of a button nowadays than it used to be on the Bolt. And then you've got your turn signal, wiper, and light stock here. And then your gear shift stock over here, which is exactly the same setup we have on the Blazer EV. Little RS accent at the bottom as well. And you do have your electronic parking brake here, your lane keeping, auto vehicle hold, your trunk button, and then your brightness control for your displays. All right, let's take the Equinox EV for a little test drive here. So go ahead and use the little shift stalk there to put it in reverse, very similar to the Blazer EV if you've driven one of those. Not similar to the Bolt that I used to have, which had a shift-by-wire pad, but I'm assuming that when we get the new Bolt in 2025, 2026, it will have something similar to this design, because this is just what all the Ultium battery-powered vehicles look like now from Chevy. So once we get around this curve, we'll give it a little juice. All right, all the way. That was 240 kilowatt output right there. That felt really quick. It feels good, like it feels responsive. Honestly, it reminds me less of the Blazer EV and more of the Silverado EV. Because I think the Blazer EV, it has similar horsepower numbers to this in the all-wheel drive system. I think it actually might be exactly the same, 288 horsepower in the Blazer EV all-wheel drive and the Equinox EV, but the Blazer's a bigger, heavier vehicle. So it feels a lot better here in the smaller Equinox all-wheel drive to have that 288 horsepower. I think it gives you a little bit more punch. Similarly to what the Silverado EV has when I looked at that. I don't actually think I put out that video. I might down the line if you guys want to see the Silverado work truck overview, but the horsepower equates more appropriately to this size vehicle versus something a little larger like the Blazer EV. If you've driven a modern Chevy vehicle, so Trailblazer, Blazer EV, Silverado, Colorado, any of those modern vehicles have this exact same layout as far as instrument cluster and infotainment system. So none of this is really like unique or special necessarily. Now obviously there are going to be certain bells and whistles that the electric vehicles have in certain menus, but as far as looks, design, function, fluidity, responsiveness, it's all the same and it's all really good. I have to give Chevy mad props. Their old infotainment system, the one I had on my Bolt, it was good. It worked fine, no issues, no lag, no stuttering. Apple CarPlay worked great, all that kind of stuff. It was all very fluid. This system, while the graphics package and the fact that it's integrated with Google is not my favorite, all of the responsiveness and the design of the menu systems, all of it is great. It really is. And you're not going to really have any issues with it. Obviously, you don't have CarPlay or Android Auto, which is a big bummer. Chevy took it off the EVs, but not off the gas vehicles for whatever reason. Makes no sense whatsoever. But let's get a DB test at city speeds here. Right around like 61 when I'm not accelerating, 64 when I'm accelerating, and really it's just because of that sound they pipe in. Once we get up here, I'll shut the air off and we'll see what it sounds like at idle. We're about to hop onto the highway here, and one thing I've noticed is that I don't have one pedal driving on. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on just with that button there, and you can actually set the levels between normal and high. I'll just leave it on normal for now. I'm probably more accustomed to like a high level based on driving my Tesla because it has pretty aggressive regen braking. But I like that you can leave it on something like normal that's a little bit less aggressive, use that as your one pedal driving, and then you can use your regen on-demand button on the side of the steering wheel for more regen. I loved that on my Bolt. Go ahead and turn on Super Cruise here. Super Cruise unavailable lane ending. Man, they really just make you jump through every hoop to make this thing work, don't they? All right. No lane ending. This green light is on the steering wheel. That's how you know Super Cruise is active. And we can boost our speed up to 65. And let's see if it yells at me for not having my hands on the wheel or not. I guess it's not going to. That's great. I mean, this is great. Like, oh, it's auto lane changing for me. Okay. Super Cruise disengaging. Why? Well, I was saying it was great, and then it did that. So if you guys are unfamiliar with how Super Cruise works, it has to be used on pre-mapped highways, and not all the highways are pre-mapped that are in the system. I think it's pretty extensive now. Early on, I don't think it was great, but I think they've really, leveled it up a little bit. So I think it should work pretty effectively on most highways. And as you can see, I have had my hands off this for almost the entire time, other than that one disengagement that it did, and haven't had any issues. So it hasn't beeped at me, it hasn't done anything like that. It has this little sensor that watches my face. So if I were to like turn away for a long period of time, it's going to beep at me and disengage most likely. But if you're just paying attention to the road, all of these systems should work exactly like this, and Tesla's is going to soon. But as long as your eyes are facing forward, you should be able to keep your hands on your knees and let this system drive for you. There's no reason why it shouldn't be able to. As long as you are being attentive to what is going on around you and keeping your head facing forward, you shouldn't have to touch the wheel the whole time. That's why we have these systems. So I wanted to know how it would do on these tight curves like this. It's taking me over an exit ramp here. This is a pretty steep curve here, and it's doing it. Obviously, again, I'm not comparing it to FSD because FSD can literally turn you, any which way you want. But this is something similar to autopilot or travel assist or highway drive assist 2 that Hyundai has, something akin to that. And it's doing a good job. Let's go ahead and give it some more juice here on the highway. So that was full output there, 240 kilowatts or so. And it doesn't have the same punch on the highway, that's for sure. Get a quick highway speed DB test. Going about 55, 53 miles an hour, so it's a little under highway speeds, but that was really quiet. So 65 dB or, close, probably a tad bit more if I was going full highway speeds. That's pretty stinking quiet. So big props to Chevy on that. So what do I think about the Equinox overall? Now, I do this over on my Bachman channel. I do 3 things I like and 3 things that I don't like as much about the Equinox EV here. And I'll start with the 3 things that I really like. First and foremost, I think the exterior design is really, really good. And I feel like that about most Chevy EVs. I really haven't had any that I absolutely dislike. But this one just has some really aggressive elements and doesn't look like the normal Equinox, and for that, I applaud them. I actually really like how the Equinox drives as well. I think it's a really smooth ride. I think it's nice, it's quiet, it feels premium while having a non-premium price tag for the most part. I think having that Super Cruise is great. I think the acceleration, especially on this all-wheel drive version with that 288 horsepower, feels really good in a vehicle this size. Not as good in the Blazer, but better in a vehicle that's this size. And then finally, I think these seats are actually really comfortable. And that's probably gonna surprise some of you because I usually don't prefer GM seats. I think they're, for the most part, not that comfortable. I don't know what it is about these, but they have some nice bolstering on the sides. The only thing I would change is giving thigh support. For us taller folk, just having a little bit of extra thigh support, maybe that it could extend or something like that, I think would be really nice, but that's my only real complaint. Now let's talk about 3 things that I don't like as much. The first one is the interior cabin materials. These door panels, especially in the back, really, really cheap feeling. Even these little accent pieces that I actually like, they're a little bit cheap feeling. But again, it's not the worst in the world. I'm coming from a low trim 2022 Chevy Bolt before my Tesla, so I'm very accustomed to cheap materials, and I get that this is more of a budget-friendly type vehicle, but at the same time, you're still paying, what, $50,000 before the tax credit, so somewhere in that $43,000 price point. You can have a little bit better materials on some of the door panels. The second's a pretty specific one, and this might just be a personal thing, but this center console area to me doesn't make a lot of sense. And what I mean by that is you have this giant pocket area. That's fine. I get that part. It's what's behind that doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I understand you have to have cup holders, not complaining about that, but this really slim little pocket here has never, ever made sense to me. There's plenty of other vehicles that have weird pockets like this, but having the 2 charging ports here, I guess the idea is that you'd plug your phone in and kind of rest it along the side here like that. I just don't see most people doing that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just have a hard time envisioning people doing that. I think the last thing would just have to be some of the graphics elements, maybe on the driver information center more so. Infotainment I can live with, but the driver information center is a little bit cluttered in my opinion. I do like that you can switch through and get some clean views, like a full map if you want it. That's really nitpicking on my part. I can't think of too many things. I really think Chevy knocked it out of the park on the Equinox EV, at least in my limited time driving this thing. I think they're gonna sell a lot of these. And to be completely honest with you guys, it makes me a little worried about the upcoming Bolt. I love the Bolt. I think it is a great sized vehicle. I think it's a great starter EV. I think the Equinox might be a better starter EV because it still gives you some of that practicality in the size that a traditional combustion engine SUV would give you, but in that fully electric platform where you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get it. And I think that's really impressive, and Chevy did a good job with that. So maybe the Equinox sells so well that they don't think they need to add another compact electric SUV to the lineup. Who knows? We'll see. Of course, I'll be checking out that new Bolt as soon as we get one on the lot in a year or 2. whenever that is the case. Now, one other thing I really wanted to try was Chevy has this auto park assist now. I've never seen that before. So let's give that a try here. Go ahead and click that. How would you like to park? Back in right, back in left, parallel right, parallel left. So we're looking at these spaces. We're gonna do a perpendicular right. Start by pulling past a space and we'll let you know when you're in a position to back in. This is a little thing I don't like. I don't like when you have to be so specific to get things to work. Like there's so many spots right here. It's a free lot. And it's not picking one. Okay, let's try just driving around till we find one here. Doesn't like any of these for some reason. I'm driving in a wide open parking lot and it's not picking any of the wide open parking spaces. This might be a fail, guys. Oh. We found one. Do you want to back into the space I see behind us? Sure. Take your hands off the wheel. Backing up, please stay alert. I don't know where it's going. What parking spot is it going to? There's no way it's pulling me up onto a curb. I don't know what it's doing. I feel like I'm getting pranked. Guys, this is a curb. This is a curb. This is a parking lot curb. Look at this. That's what it is. Where's it putting me? What are we doing here, system? Canceled. See the owner's manual. That might be worse than Volkswagen's system. Let's try this again. I don't know what we did wrong. Again, we're in a wide open parking lot here. There's 60 spaces. It just doesn't like any of them. Okay, we're gonna try that again. This is unfortunate, guys. You're really embarrassing me with this demo. I could have parked and been in the hotel and sleeping by now. I mean, there's 15 parking spots right there. I mean, look at this. Just nothing but wide open spots and it doesn't like any of them. Oh, all right, let's do that one. Okay. Park vehicle. Take your hands off the wheel. Not liking this. Maybe it's going, okay, it's going to that one. All right, that's good. Oh, it is real tight on that curb, but we're getting around it, it looks like. Oh, nope, we went over it. It's okay. No biggie. It's a little indecisive on when it needs to back up. I've got an old guy looking at me. He's probably like, you stupid kids. It's pulling me right onto the curb. I'm on the curb. Nice. Good job. Perfect. Parking complete. Let's go take a look. You know, from this angle, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, you got quite a bit of space back here that you could have backed in, but you know, if you were to just look at it from here, you'd be like, you know what, Chevy? Not horrible. The problem is that if you move at all over to this side, you're gonna notice something. Yeah, fully on the curb. I mean, come on. Really? You got all those cameras and that's what you come up with? Goodness gracious, that's terrible. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like on the video. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about the new Equinox EV? Are you gonna pick one up? Do you have one on order? Let's talk about it down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be among the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.